Happy Valentine's Day! February 14th, which comes around every year, is Valentine's Day, a time to express affection by giving chocolates to close friends and loved ones. It's a special day filled with love and friendship. This year, Korea has formed a very precious connection with a particular nation, a place where Korea has exchanged hearts. Where could it be? A place known for its mojitos, jazz, Ernest Hemingway, and the colourful vintage cars that grace its streets? It's none other than Cuba. I'm Peter Bint, and today I'll be sharing with you the story of the establishment of diplomatic relations between Korea and Cuba. On February 14, 2024, Korea established diplomatic relations with Cuba. Cuba was the only remaining country in the Latin American and Caribbean region that had yet to establish diplomatic ties with Korea. With the establishment of diplomatic ties, Cuba became Korea's 193rd diplomatic partner. Since the government of the Republic of Korea was founded in 1948, establishing diplomatic relations with Cuba took approximately 70 years. Koreans in Cuba describe the Korea-Cuba diplomatic relations as a miracle, with some even jokingly remarking, "I thought it was April Fool's Day, not Valentine's Day." How did this seemingly impossible diplomatic relationship become a reality? Rome wasn't built in a day. The connection between the two countries dates back over a century. Starting with immigration to Hawaii in 1903, Koreans began to spread across the globe. Their journey led them to a place close to Cuba, a nation of passion and romance, Mexico. In 1920, under the scorching sun of Mexico's Yucatan Peninsula, a tantalizing rumor spread among the Koreans enduring harsh labor. In Cuba, even the workers cutting sugarcane wear white shirts and ties. They drink milk instead of water and can have as much beer as they please. Upon hearing this news, the Koreans, facing severe hardships, were hopeful for a better life in Cuba. And so, with dreams of a brighter future, the Koreans set out for Cuba. In 1921, around 300 Koreans arrived at the port of Manatí, Cuba. That's how the first chapter of the Korea-Cuba connection began. But was the rumor that lured Koreans to Cuba true? Sadly, the Eden that they had envisioned was nowhere to be found. Instead, new hardships greeted the Korean immigrants. At the time, most Koreans found employment on sugarcane farms, harvesting the raw material for sugar production. However, suddenly, sugar prices took a nosedive, experiencing a 90% decrease. The sharp decline in sugar prices led to a scarcity of jobs, and those who managed to find work on farms had to toil for meager wages, barely enough to sustain themselves. Even amid their harsh lives, there was one thing the Koreans never gave up on: their identity as Koreans. The Koreans in Cuba collected funds to support the independence of their homeland from Japanese colonial rule. From 1938 to 1945, the amount raised by the Koreans reached a staggering $1,489.75. Considering that the daily wage of Koreans at the time was a mere 1 cent, this contribution can be viewed as a near miraculous feat. The pivotal figure who helped establish the identity of Koreans in Cuba was Geronimo Im, the son of independence activist Im Chun-taek. He was invited to the World Korean Festival, which took place in Seoul, as a representative of Cuba. The moment he set foot on Korean soil, a land he had only heard tales of, the word Korea profoundly came to life in his mind. Upon returning to Cuba, he immediately got into his Russian-made Lada passenger car and set out on a mission to locate Koreans scattered throughout Cuba and understand the realities faced by their descendants. It continues to move Koreans in Cuba to this day. Representative examples demonstrating this include the Korean Descendants Association, a Cuban-Korean organization, and the Jose Marti Korea Cuba Culture Club, also known as the Korean Descendants Cultural Center, which plays a vital role in introducing Korean culture and Hangul to Cuban society. This private level exchange, which began with Korean immigration nearly a century ago, served as a bridge connecting distant Cuba and Korea, laying the foundation for completing the strong bridge of diplomatic relations in 2024. Of course, it's difficult to say that diplomatic relations were possible solely because of this. A catalyst is needed for acquaintances to become friends or lovers, and there was such a decisive catalyst in the relationship between Korea and Cuba. One that instantly narrowed the distance between the two countries that had been apart for many years. Here's a hint. Smooth like butter, like a criminal undercover, gonna pop like trouble, breaking into your heart like that. Ooh! Okay, if that wasn't enough, one more. 'Cause I'm in the stars tonight. Oh dear, so watch me bring the fire, set the night alight. Woo! Maybe that was a terrible hint, but still, why the sudden BTS songs? Well, to explain, the winds of change that transformed Cuba began in 2013 with a single drama series. The NBC drama Queen of Housewives, aired on Cuban national television, took the nation by storm. It was a sensational hit, ranking second in drama popularity. In particular, the popularity of the lead actor, Yoon Sang-hyun, was nothing short of extraordinary. The Korean wave that began to blow in Cuba spread nationwide and exerted a profound influence, largely thanks to K-pop. Beyond simply enjoying K-pop on an individual level, large and small Korean wave fan clubs emerged across Cuba. Since its inception in 2015, the Cuban K-pop fan club ArtCore has attracted a significant following, now numbering around 10,000 members. This love for Korean content naturally led to a growing interest in Korea itself. The number of Cubans eager to learn about the Korean language, food, and history increased exponentially. Now, do you understand why I burst into a BTS song? Like dynamite, whoa! Of course, the exchange between Cuba and Korea was not limited to the Korean wave alone. There were also consistent exchanges in the field of sports, especially baseball. The distance between the two countries grew even closer through exchanges in the sports arena, such as the famous match between Korea and Cuba in the 2008 Beijing Olympics final and the warm-up match held by inviting Cuba ahead of the 2017 WBC. Efforts to create a platform for cultural exchange were also unceasing. In 2015, the Ministry of Foreign Affairs of the Republic of Korea held the Cuban Contemporary Film Festival in Seoul. In 2023, director Lee Jun-ik's The Book of Fish was officially invited to the Havana International Film Festival, leading to a special screening of Korean films in Havana. Han Song-pil's participation in the Havana Biennial, a comprehensive international art exhibition held in Cuba, was also supported. A large screen adorned with the image of the Kamunsa Temple stone pagoda was installed in the heart of Havana, showcasing the traditional beauty of Korea for all to admire. Private exchanges that began with Korean immigration and cultural exchanges that have been passionately ongoing with the Korean wave as a catalyst have gradually brought the two countries closer through interactions centered on non-political areas. Rome wasn't built in a day. The countless steps taken toward each other, one by one, have made the diplomatic relationship between Korea and Cuba possible. The establishment of diplomatic ties with Cuba marked a new phase for Korea. The establishment of diplomatic relations with Cuba is expected to be a pivotal turning point in expanding Korea's diplomatic horizons in Latin America. We look forward to an even stronger, more vibrant relationship between Korea and Cuba in the future. And that brings us to the end of the story I prepared for you today. I'll return with another fascinating tale related to Korea's foreign policy. So, stay tuned, and until then, this has been Peter Bint. Thank you for watching. Shining through the city with a little funk and soul, so I'ma light it up like dynamite. Whoa!